if you want to do like an intro or something, you want to break the fourth wall, it's called, and speak directly to your audience. Your camera is that one, Rafaela, and your camera.
That was clearly that one.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. This one you don't have to worry about altogether, but that's
So
pretty
just
much
don't even look
it.
at me. Just talk directly to the camera, or it's like The Office, like.
I just started watching The Office.
No, I don't know how to do this, so I don't want to talk. I don't know how to.
You don't want to talk?
You have
This
to
is a
intro
podcast.
something.
How do I intro?
It's your podcast.
Danielle.
How do you want to intro? Welcome to, what's the name of it? Stay a while?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You don't have a name of a podcast
No.
yet?
What,
I
you
start
said
that
you
way.
stay a while.
Maybe.
Stay a while? That's a cute name. I like that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is
So-
Stay a While cute? Because it's gonna be eventually. Yeah.
Look at the camera and say welcome to Stay a While and say.
So stay a while or stay out. Come on, we've done this over and over again. You've got this already.
Can I just say
Hello
welcome to my mental health
everybody,
podcast?
welcome to Stay. My name is.
Can I just
say
say
your
welcome to my
name?
mental health podcast? You never heard a name secured yet?
Yeah, say your name and just
That's
what
very
you guys
easy.
talk about.
Just be you.
And say,
Okay.
this here with me today is the.
Quiet on set.
Yes, quiet on set, quiet on set. All right,
Okay,
and
we do
you're,
it. Ready?
yep.
Hello, welcome to our podcast. It's a mental health podcast, and I don't have a name for it yet. Working on it, but this is Blake. Thank you, Blake, for being here on my unnamed podcast.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's an honor to be here.
Oh my gosh, wow.
I was shocked you asked me.
Oh my
let alone the first interview.
Yeah, you're number one.
I'm not number one. Like, I'm number one on the podcast. I am not number one in things. But
I'm like number one. I'm like, okay, a person I know that I feel comfortable with doing this really random thing of a podcast and like a studio and microphones, and I was like, Blake, I feel comfy around you. You're mental health branded and a mental health human,
Yeah.
and I know you and I feel comfortable with you, and that's really the main thing.
that's perfect. Yeah, I'm honored that you asked me, and for those reasons. So I'm glad you feel comfortable with me. Yeah, that's what I tried to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have known each other for a really long time.
I don't know how long it's been. It is 2025 right now. When did you do things? Also, how do you identify? If you meet someone and you're like, hi, I'm Blake, and how do you introduce yourself? Like, what do you have a title? You're also like a very multifaceted human. So like, how do you know how to define you?
Oh, that's good.
This is Blake.
I don't want to be put in any one little.
I don't know, but then it's hard when you meet people and you're like, hi.
I don't know. How do people introduce me? I think people introduce me as like a photographer.
Depends what space you're in.
Depends on the space I'm in. I think people define like they introduce me as Blake, the photographer, Blake, the dog mom, Blake, the mental health advocate.
Who introduces you as like, this is Blake, the dog mom?
Probably my boyfriend.
Okay. I was like, what setting is that?
No. Blake, the dog mom. I'd be so cool with that.
Oh, I like it.
I don't know. I have like a mixed bag of things that I do, I guess.
I know.
Which keeps me, I'm also like on the Folk Fest board now. So that's cool.
That's very
Yeah,
fancy
so-
of you, Blake. You're on a board member.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know about how fancy I am, but yeah.
So, mental health, because I'm trying to think like, okay, like, I don't know how to define you, because so when I met you, you were very mental health advocate Blake,
Yes.
I think. What was that, like 2017, 2018 I met you?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think my greatest like mental health advocacy years were probably like 2015 to 2020 were probably my most active years with mental health advocacy. Yeah, I've been doing advocacy work since I was 14, like mental health advocacy since I was 14, and I'm 44 now, so I've been doing mental health advocacy for. Whoa. This is why I have my phone on to get my Sephora anti-aging regime. It's being delivered to me. 30 years of mental health advocacy. Yeah.
That sounds so cool, like professional. Like, oh, for 30 years, I'm an expert in my field.
I don't feel like I'm an expert. I feel like I was the expert of my experience, but I don't
Oh my
feel,
gosh, that's a great way to say it.
well, I just don't feel like I'm an expert at all. There's so much that I don't know. I just feel like I knew and know my experience really well, and that's the cool thing about people with lived experience is that we are the expert of our experience, and like I feel that, you know, that isn't as valued as much as it should be, and so
Yeah, an interesting thing about lived experience is when I was just starting, I thought like, I have lived experience, I am the expert. And now I'm like, oh, I'm the expert of my experience, but I cannot speak for all other mentally ills around here, and everyone's individual voice should be heard because you can't just speak up for everyone. I mean, as an advocate, I guess we can speak about the big things, but everyone's individual circumstances still deserve to be heard.
I know, yeah, I did a lot of speaking engagements, and a lot of the questions, and I would always speak to my experience and my story, and then a lot of the questions at the end of my talks were always like, okay, so what do we do? Like, this is all well and dandy, what your experience was, but how do we apply that? Like, how do we improve mental health in the workplace? And
That's what they're asking you, or you're asking
yeah, they
them?
would ask me that, like, how do we improve mental health in the workplace? And I just was like, that is such a huge question because that looks different for everyone. You know, it just has to be like a multifaceted approach for everyone.
It's not just like one solution, like, hey, just
one
do this
solution.
thing.
Yeah, we want the easy fix, and I was just like, I'm not the expert here. I'm the expert in my like what happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm the expert in, you know, my own personal experience.
Yeah, but you're also so connected with the community and different people with lived experience. Like, how did you get into waving? Like, when did that start? We need to go back to like
Oh, we need to go
14-year-old Blake.
So
in
far
order
back.
to, like, you tell
so
me.
far back. Okay, so my mental health journey started at the age of 14. It was 1994, and I was having really, really bad intrusive thoughts. Like, the most vile, disturbing intrusive thoughts. And they were causing me to become really, really depressed. And one summer when I was in grade 9, I didn't leave my basement for 2 months. Like, my bedroom was in the basement, and I didn't leave that room for like the whole summer. So I got really, really mentally ill, and my mom, she had an experience with postpartum depression. So I'm so like lucky that my mom had that experience because she was able to say, you know, this is what I think this is. And so she got me to our family doctor, and my family doctor said, oh, this really is this is depression and anxiety. It was once I got to see a psychiatrist, it was diagnosed as OCD. But I just that day changed my life because my mom was just doing it to protect me, but she just kind of, she leaned over and said to me, like, we left the doctor's office, and she was just like, you know, Blake, no one understands these things, so you can't ever tell anyone. And I don't know, I've always had like a mind for justice and what's right and wrong, and so I just was like, well, that makes no sense to me. So I just kind of started telling everybody, and I made it my mission to like bring light to it, and any opportunity I had, like when you're 14 years old in the 90s and there's no such thing as the internet, like your opportunities are pretty limited as to what you can do for advocacy, but it was, you know, doing science presentations on mental illness and doing biology presentations on like the root cause of this particular disorder. You know, that's how I kind of did my advocacy.
So you never felt that shame, like your mom literally saying to you, like, you cannot speak about this, and you're like, no thanks. Like,
I didn't feel shame. I felt sadness, but I never felt shame because it wasn't something that I had done to myself. So the stigma was all inflicted from the outside world. It wasn't something that I kind of felt shame about. So I just kind of told everybody.
Like you knew that the intrusive thoughts like weren't you, like you knew that was something that was like happening to you.
No, I felt a lot of shame about the intrusive thoughts for sure. Because they were really, really disturbing.
Yeah.
And really not reflective of who I am as a person. Like, they were so bad and so awful that like I only tell really close people in my life the contents of what that was about.
Yeah,
because
people
it
would
was-
hear that and they might not even understand.
They don't understand. You say something like, "Oh, I have these thoughts," and people are like, "What is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And that's OCD for you, right?
Yeah.
Like it gives you the worst possible thought, and if you're not well at the time, like I have intrusive thoughts still, but I am in a place of wellness now, so I can be like, "Oh, that is not me. That is my brain," and I'm able to move past them, but I wasn't able to move past them then, you know?
Yeah.
So.
But it's still so cool that you didn't let yourself like sink into that shame, or I'm just so impressed like when you have like someone like your mom telling you like don't do this thing, you need to hide this thing, and immediately like no.
I just,
tell
like,
people
yeah.
instead.
I don't know, like I had from a very young age I like wanted to be a human rights lawyer. I wanted to do stuff like that. I grew up in Georgia, well, not grew up, but I lived in Athens, Georgia for a couple of years as a kid. I was exposed to the civil rights movement there, and I was just like, what? I was just always questioning like right and wrong and what is just and what is unjust. So, and I kind of always had a mind and a heart for it. So, it just kind of came fairly naturally to me because I was just like, that doesn't make sense. Like, it actually doesn't compute why I should be ashamed of something that I didn't do. So, yeah, I just became really outspoken about mental illness. But like, I was a kid in the 90s when literally nobody was talking about it.
See, I wasn't there, so like I don't know.
I was just very alone. I was very alone in the experience and really, really, really sick. I was very sick.
Could your mom talk to you? Because you said like at least your mom understood like that like depression side.
Yes, and also sadly, like I won't get too much into it but my family went through like shortly after I was diagnosed with this stuff. My parents split up, and my mom was out of the home, and so my sister and I were kind of on our own to take care of ourselves. So yeah, I sadly didn't have my mom as much as I needed, but yeah, just two parents trying to do the best they could with the given situation. But so I really, really, really struggled with my mental health. I was hospitalized multiple times as a youth in the Royal Alex Hospital. My mental health got so bad that, and I was an honors student. Like I did really well in school.
Oh yeah.
I was like president of my junior high school. I was on like speech and debate teams, and then became so unwell that I actually had to drop out of high school in grade 12. So yeah, mental illness like really, really impacted my life and was something that I was very, very, very passionate about. And then one day my dad, I think it was kind of at the end of his rope with frustration about how I was doing. And he said, you know, your stepmother and I have been talking, and we're sending you to Nepal to get your head straightened out. So like I had this friend who was traveling in Southeast Asia, and he felt like the appropriate way for me to deal with my sadness would be to get a dose of like people who actually should have sadness.
Oh, so it wasn't like go find yourself in Nepal.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm gonna ship you off to Nepal so you understand how good you have it here.
It really felt like that. I really haven't had a discussion with him about it since, but maybe maybe he would frame it that way.
Okay,
But
yeah.
we'll see. But, yeah, so I went to Nepal for 2 months. The day before I left for Nepal, my boyfriend at the time taught me how to use this old film camera that I had. I had never taken photos before, but I always felt like I had this creative outlet that needed to be expressed, and I had this feeling, like this inkling that it was photography. So I was in Nepal, trekking in the Himalayas, and started taking these photos, and it changed my life. Photography changed my life because it was the first time in my life that I was able to make my brain quiet. You know what I mean? Because like, it was like the first mindful activity. I was able to like really focus on what I was photographing and not photograph what was going on. Like I wasn't focusing on what was going on in my head. So I just focused on what I was photographing, and it was the most euphoric feeling because I was just like, oh my gosh, for like this moment, I'm not mentally ill. So I just fell in love with photography, and while I was in Nepal, like I was photographing everything, and while I was in the Himalayas, I was taking a photo of this young boy. And I had this thought, like, wouldn't it be cool if I take photos of people with mental illnesses and share their stories? And that was probably 1999, 2000. So internet was just like becoming a
Like
thing.
the whole like Humans of New York thing like wasn't a thing.
No, this was like, no.
Like,
And
started.
so I was like, one day I'm gonna take photos of people with mental illnesses and share their stories. And it just was something that always was with me, this idea. And then, like you, when you have anxiety and are a perfectionist, you never start things because they're so big and beautiful in your head, and then you just kind of never start
I
it.
don't want to do it because I'm gonna fuck it up in real life. I just
Exactly.
swore, but I'm not supposed to.
It's okay, it's fine.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, I just like never did it. Never ever did it. And then, when Robin Williams died by suicide, Robin Williams was one of my heroes because in the 1990s when you're diagnosed with mental illness, you can't go to the internet and be like, who has these illnesses, da da da. So, I would go to the libraries and like look for famous people with mental illnesses, so I felt less alone. And Robin Williams was a person with a mental illness, and I just like really admired him because he gave the world such joy, even though he had a mental illness. And so when he died by suicide, like a piece of me died. Like I still
What year was that?
I think it was 2014. August 11th, 2014, I believe. And so but I believe that his death was like a watershed moment for the mental health movement we see today, because people were like so shaken up by his death that people were just like finally telling the world that they had a mental illness. And it was the saddest but most beautiful thing I had ever witnessed. And I was like, this is the time, like I gotta do this project. So I finally started it slowly but surely, and then a friend of mine, Nancy Critchley, she introduced me to the executive director of the Canadian Mental Health Association at the time. Her name's Iron Shelbourne, and Nancy was like, you two need to meet. Blake is wanting to do these photos, and Ione was like, cool, do you want to like do Mental Health Awareness Week, Canadian Mental Health Awareness Week? And I was like, sure, that sounds great. So I interviewed and photographed like I think 60 to 70 people, and got this show ready. And we had a show at the Art Gallery in
Okay,
Alberta.
how did you find these people? Like, is at a time where people are still not talking about it as much as they are now, and
I just put calls out on Facebook is really just like, who is willing to be a part of this project? And they kind of all came from my own network. And so I just started photographing these people. And then we had this big show at the Art Gallery of Alberta that was just, it was incredible. Like, there was a couple of folks there who had never told their family, but brought their family to the show and then told them at the show. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, there was one girl who actually ended up doing a speech at the event who had never told her family that she struggled with mental illness, and then her poster, like her photo was there, her story was there, and she did a speech. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, there were people like with their poster, like their big picture and their story, just crying with their family and hugging. It was like the most incredible event. I needed a show, I needed a name for the show, and I was like walking in the river valley and I started to hear this voice in my head that was like, I believe in you, I believe in you. As I was walking through the river valley, I believe in you, Blake, I believe in you. And then my brain kicked in and went, no, we believe in you. And then I was like, no, we all believe in you. And so that's the name of the show, was We All Believe in You. And it was, yeah, photographing people to shed a light, to create hope for folks who have mental health issues. And it was a pretty incredible event. I had a lot of people help me. It wasn't just me. But it was, yeah, we raised $10,000 for the Canadian Mental Health Association. But one of the big things that came out of it is a lot of the people that I interviewed were like, is there a way for us to stay in touch? Is there a way that, we can all be connected? So I was like, that seems easy, I'll just start a Facebook group. So the Facebook group initially was just the people I interviewed, and then a lot of them were like, can we bring in other people who struggle with mental health issues? I was like, yeah, sure. So the group opened up to anybody who struggles with a mental health issue, and then a lot of people were like, can we hang out and go for walks and do things together? Like, I want to hang out with people who have mental health struggles. And I was sure, I don't see why we can't do that. So Wavy started out as like walks, basically. And then I really was adamant that people with mental health issues get services beyond just being in the church basement. You know what I mean? Like, so often folks who are in group therapy or whatever, they're in these nasty rooms with chairs in a circle, and it's not comfortable, and it's all, and then you go to other orgs where it's cancer hospitals, and they have everything, and I'm not saying, I'm not trying to pit the two causes against each other. I'm just saying that often, it's just often saying that folks with mental health issues very often get the rickety chairs in a broken down room, and I was adamant my spaces would not look like that. So I started a GoFundMe to raise money to get an office or a space for individuals that was really comfortable and really cozy. And then I should mention that my education is in psychiatric nursing. I was a psychiatric nurse for 8 years, so I also had experience as a service provider in the mental health care system, which was excellent for me because I feel like I have such a unique perspective of being in the system as a service provider, in the system as a service consumer, and yeah. So I started peer support meetings for folks with lived experience and mental health issues, which at the time there was a bit of in the city, but not a ton of, and I wanted it from more of a recreational point of view too. And so yeah, we started these meetings, and then one day someone popped into my Facebook inbox and was like, hey, did you see this thing that Facebook is doing? They are giving leadership skills and money to folks who use Facebook for a tool for change. And since Wavy was hosted in Facebook land, I decided to apply thinking I would never ever get it, right? Because like, this is Facebook.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. This is Facebook. And so I applied and didn't hear back for like 6 months, and then heard back that I had gotten accepted to the next round of interviews. So then I did this whole interview process and I was the only Canadian accepted into the Facebook Community Leadership Program. And I did it was like a kind of like a 2-year internship with Facebook where I flew back and forth like the campus and stuff.
I did not know that. I thought you went like once.
No.
What?
Yeah, it was like a whole 2-year program basically. And so it was there that they encouraged me to turn Wavy into a nonprofit organization. So,
What was
that-
the reasoning for that? Just to make it more substantial?
I
Give
think
more,
it was, like,
credibility?
more credibility, more like sustainable funding, and just like in terms of logistics and all that stuff. So, I did that with the help of the board of directors, and that is kind of what happened there. So,
Yeah, I think that's where I came in, is I was mentally unwell in university, and I think I followed you on like Instagram, so I didn't know you, but I like saw you doing this stuff, and I just remember I just finished a session with my chem tutor, and I was so in like the worst place. Like, I hate chemistry, I hate everything. I was just so low, and I think actually Bright was picking me up, and I was like, can you take me to this session that's happening downtown? It was like Allard Hall.
oh yeah.
And I
That was our
never
first
even
location.
been anywhere. I
Yeah.
never even met you, and I just showed up, and I was crying, and I was like, I'm looking for Wavy, and someone like pointed me in a direction, and I didn't know anything. I was just like, okay, I just know that I'm not okay, and yeah, to be with other people who just understand that
Yeah.
is such an underrated thing.
Yeah.
People say, oh yeah, peer support, but it's like, you don't have to explain why you're anxious all the time, or
100%.
you know that you haven't showered in 2 weeks. When you,
100%. Yeah.
They're not judging it like, oh yeah, I get it, that also sucks.
Yeah.
I feel
Been there.
Yeah,
This is how I got
exactly.
through it. There's something so valuable about that kind of care that just didn't really exist. And all of it kind of, the whole thing kind of naturally evolved and just went down this path that like, I know I was not ready for, but I just was like, okay, this is the next step. And yeah, it was a lot, and it was a lot, like, it was a lot. And at that point was doing a lot of public speaking, a lot of consultation, a lot of education.
There was a lot of like programs or like initiatives in Edmonton that you
There
were
were
like the
a lot.
face of, you were speaking for,
Yes.
and you were like the mental health advocate of Edmonton, honestly.
I was, and I lived my life very publicly.
Yeah.
And my Instagram presence was kind of like a journal for me, and it kind of evolved into something bigger than me, and something that I don't think I was ready for. And there was positives to it, and there were sure a lot of negatives to it. And so, yeah, that's kind of the journey of the like major years that I was really, really active,
Yeah,
because I really,
it's-
really wanted to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, and that, like, so I understand, like, that journey, and I feel like that's where it kind of lost you, like, that's where, like, I cut off. I think it was we moved to a new location, and I was either anxious about, or I just couldn't line myself up, so then I think I kind of drifted away at that time, where I was in university, trying to deal with my own shit, and then I feel like we kind of lost touch. So and then what's happening with Wavy? What?
Yeah, so
what
I
happened?
left Wavy, and I left Wavy. I was the executive director and I left during COVID, because I felt like I didn't have enough experience. I didn't feel like I was an effective enough, like I didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to know what I was doing, but also didn't have the capacity at the time. I had some really difficult years from like 2019 to just a couple years ago. Really, really big life shifts. And I think that I needed to focus on my own healing and go through a lot of stuff. And I left the org, left it in the hands of the board and left it and gave it to a new executive director. And then they shut it down a year after, yeah.
What? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you can talk about, but like.
I don't know, like, starting a nonprofit is not for the faint of heart. It's really, really not. It's a ton of work. And when I left, like, not in, not bad, like bad terms or anything. I was just like, I am done. And I didn't really look back at that time, and that was good for me. Like
I needed like separation of others. Like how could you be like that? You're half in it. I don't know.
yeah,
Something
I never really like looked back to see what was going on. I just left, and I needed to just leave. So
Was that hard? Or at that time you're like, I'm so done. I'm so at this point that I cannot like continue. So it felt maybe okay stepping away.
it was a mixed bag of emotions. Like feeling like I had failed was a huge one. Feeling like I had failed was probably the biggest emotion that I felt. A feeling of exhaustion was another emotion I really felt. I was not, it was a good move for me because I was not my best Blake from about 2019 to 2000.
That's great that you can
3, 4,
recognize that though. Be like, okay, like that wasn't the best for me. I love that. I wasn't the best Blake.
No, I was not. I wasn't. And it was just like the right decision for me. I knew it was the right decision, but it's still like, you know, as we used to say on Wavy all the time, multiple things can be true at the same time, you know? And it's not a but, it's an and, you know? We used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, multiple things being true, it was sad, full of shame, and the right choice.
And can you look back on it now? Do you still feel like shame surrounding it? Do you look back and be like, wow, what a beautiful time that was? I mean, I know it's probably like everything, but
Yeah.
yeah, how does it feel like if someone brings it up to you? Like, do you have an immediate reaction or a certain feeling that comes up?
I think that I need to be, I'm really hard on myself. Like I'm really,
Still?
yeah, oh yeah. Still hard on myself. And, you know, I do value, like I ran into someone in a pub recently who said that Wavy saved his life. And I've heard that from other people that it saved their lives, and so I try to remember those, but like of course I'm human, and I look back at that time when I think about it or someone brings it up, I'm like, okay, like oh. So I did try my best. I had no idea what I was doing. Literally no idea.
You also didn't sign up for it. You were just
I did not
being
sign up.
alive and doing
I did not
your
sign up
thing.
for it. I felt like that was the path of it, and I was just on the path of it and trying to do the best for the people around me. And like, did I mess up? Oh God, yes. But like, I don't know, I was trying, and a lot of people don't try. So I guess that's all I can, I guess that's what I can say, is that I tried.
Yeah, you tried, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it just brings up all these feelings of, okay, like when you're mentally ill yourself, and then you're trying to like save the world or help other people, but then you overexert yourself, or you're in situations that hurt your own mental health. Like, how do you balance?
Oh, I didn't balance it. Yeah, I didn't balance it, and I didn't know what I was signing up for. Like, I had no idea. Like, I just thought that I was gonna, like, and people don't talk about what the pressure of being, like, a quote-unquote mental health influencer is. Like, I just thought I was putting my story out into the world. I just thought, like, I was, it was a therapeutic thing for me to make posts about what I was going through. Like, I would post a photo and then write a big long blurb, and like, it was probably more for me than it was, like, yes, I wanted to help people, but when it initially started, it was just like, I just need to work through this thing and this feeling that I'm having. It became like a journal for me because I'm such a visual person, so when Instagram came out, I was just like, and it was like therapeutic for me, and I also wanted to help people, but I had no idea that I was like signing up to become a mental health influencer. I wanted to make a difference in the world. I've always felt like I wanted to change the world to make it better, but like, I don't know, it's a lot of pressure, and I am just a person, and I swear, I was, how like Instagram, like if someone messages you that you don't know, and it puts it in like a requests folder. I was going through my requests folder, I swear this was like 6 to 8 months ago, and I was just like clearing things out, okay? And I swear there was like a secret box. This is gonna freak you out. This is gonna freak you out so much.
Extra secret box.
An extra secret box that was just full of people being like, hey, I'm suicidal right now, what do I do? And like, I never answered those messages. And
no.
I
I'm saying, oh no for you.
No.
I don't even know.
No.
Like, I'm saying, oh no for you.
I just sat there, this was not long ago, I just sat there and I felt like I just was gonna barf. Because it was just like, people are so desperate and they want any sort of help. And I get that, because I have been there.
Yeah.
They're just like screaming into the void. And I just happened to be this one person who was like screaming into the void with them. And all these people thought that I was this thing, like this expert or this thing or this whatever, and I wasn't. I was just a person, and and not only that, from 2019 to 2023, I was a pretty toxic person, because I was going through a whole world of my own stuff, and like, that's a lot to put on one person. A lot to put on
It's
one
a
person.
lot, and it's like, especially like you were in this position because of your mental health. I feel like people even forget that. Like, you get the spotlight on you, and you're still a person like living with mental illness and like our challenges. But even for like a neurotypical person, that's still a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and I'm not neurotypical, like, at all. So, but it was just a lot of pressure, and I didn't really think, like, I just thought I was a person, and I am just a person. I'm not saying that I'm all special, because I'm not. I am not, like, more special than anyone else. I do not believe that. For a number of years there, like, people didn't have someone to turn to, and I was, like, very vocal, so there were all these messages that I didn't reply to. I still feel terrible. And now when I see someone in public who I know but won't speak to me, I'm like, oh, did you send me a message? I'm so sorry.
You're like, oh, which people? Was that you? I'm so
It's just,
sorry.
like, Edmonton is very small, so yeah.
So what about now? Now that you've kind of stepped back from the limelight of, like, you made your Instagram private.
Yeah,
right? You
my-
stepped back from Wavy.
My old advocacy Instagram is just photography. I took all my mental health stuff down.
You took it down?
For a
Did you
number of
save it?
reasons.
And, like,
It's archived
Okay,
for a
okay,
number
okay.
of reasons. Number one, I re-entered the dating world after 16 years of being in a relationship. Trust and believe that like I did not want that stuff out there. And the number of times someone would match with me and then we would chit chat and then they would just unmatch me, I was convinced they're just Googling me and they found out this girl has a mental illness and they're out. So I got rid of it for that reason. I got rid of it because I was taking a hard step back from mental health advocacy so I could focus on my own self.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, I don't live my life like that anymore. I don't live my life that publicly. Like, I have my private Instagram that has gotten bigger than, I was like, it's just gonna be my absolute closest friends. But, it's gotten a little bit bigger than that, but it's not a place where I post about my mental health journey as much anymore. It's more about dogs and boys and.
Which I mean, people love. So how does that feel for you in terms of your own advocacy, your own journey up, even since you were 14, you've been like very vocal and then seeing how things have shifted, like, okay, like I also need to take care of myself, and you're still obviously helping so many people just in different ways. You know, it's not so, as you said, not so public, like maybe it's through like harm reduction work or.
Yeah, my life really shifted when I started doing harm reduction work, and my views on mental health, my views on psychiatry, my views on a lot of things really shifted when I started doing harm reduction, and working in that world, and like some of them are, I would say, slightly controversial now, whereas so I don't know, I don't have this need to really like shout about mental health anymore. I'm not saying that it's not done. I think there's still a space where that needs to happen, but like it's not all who I am anymore.
Is it because like that like became your identity in a sense, and like, oh, I am the advocate versus wanting to have your own meaning in life, like to yourself, that's not just on for show, or just seeing like, okay, that's great, the mental health system is actually so much more complex than just screaming into the abyss, and you can't just exit it.
Yeah, why did I do what I did? So I did mental health advocacy for a number of years, and in those years I did many like call outs for like, hey, can you come and can I take your photo? Do you want to be the face behind suicide prevention? Do you want to be the face behind mental health challenges and call outs. Man, the number of white women that would show up, like, and I think it is great. I think it is so great that white women feel really like empowered to talk about their mental health, and they feel like they can, but what about everybody else? And I don't think I really understood why this was happening until I started working for a nonprofit doing harm reduction. I got a really unique look at systemic racism, colonialism, privilege, and I had never really looked at it before. And I was just like, when I was working there, I was just like, no wonder why so many white women can show up to these things, because so many people cannot get their, I'm sorry, I am gonna swear, their fucking basic needs met.
Yeah.
Like, talking about psychiatry and therapy is like a place that some people can't even think about because they're still dealing with the the colonial violence, systemic racism. They don't have a place to live. They're addicted to substances, and this is like, I'm not saying that substance abuse is like specific to one. It's impacts all people. But like there are some people who just I just felt like talking about mental health at this point was just almost like there's so much work to be done on the basic needs.
Like, how can you have mental health if you don't have a place to sleep, if you don't have food to eat, if you're not safe? I don't
Exactly.
know. Like, yeah, like I can talk about being in university and like really struggling with my mental health, and that is so extremely, like, it's valid and so extremely different than not having your basic needs as a human being met first.
Yeah. And I just had never really seen it before. Like I had never, like I had seen it, you see it as an outsider,
Yeah.
and I think, oh, that's unfortunate, that's really sad, blah, blah, blah. But then and then it just made me think of so many things. It made me think about the DSM and how it's a very colonial tool, and how borderline personality disorder is a very misogynistic diagnosis. It just made me think of a lot of things that I hadn't really thought of before. And it just didn't feel like that was my place anymore. I don't know. For multiple reasons. For that, and because I had my own work to do too. So
when doing all of that, like, I mean, like, you've been all over. So now that you've seen all different sides, if someone did ask you now, like, okay, what do we need within the mental health, I say mental health system as if there is one,
yeah.
but do you have any ideas or thoughts about what either we could do as a society, what governments could do, like what needs to be done now in order to help people as society as a whole in terms of mental health? Do you have any thoughts?
Oh my gosh, so many. But like, where does one start? I think our current government is not conducive to healing, first of all. Like current provincial government. I don't know, there's so much like deep work, like deep colonial work. There's so, like, it's so big. It's so, so
like
big.
the big stuff.
But like, if there's one thing that I think that could really make a difference, a real shift, is like, I really believe in the power. I still believe in the power of peer support. Like, still believe in it. And because the fact of the matter is that wait times are not getting any better. Care within the biomedical system is not getting any better. I'm not sure that it entirely will get better. There are so many changes that need to happen within there. Destigmatization within that, like, I'm not even really concerned so much about destigmatization with the general population, because I feel like a lot of good work is being done there. I think a lot of the destigmatization has to come within the mental health care system itself. So
do you mean like a clinical setting when you say like mental health care system? Do you mean like nonprofit work?
Like the clinical system, the biomedical system. I think that, but yeah, I think that a lot of work needs to be done in those places. But yeah, peer support is something that I just really, really believe in. I think it's very healing, very, very healing. I think that and it needs to be like tailored in terms of like specific groups, in terms of like specific like cultures and identities doing peer support work for themselves.
Like with various intersectionalities.
100%.
It's not just the white women not being able to understand someone with like less privilege than them who's experiencing, as you said, like systemic racism.
Right, creating safe safe peer support spaces for folks with mental health and struggles is essential to healing, I think. And I think it's important that, yeah, you know, that Indigenous folks, they have a safe space for themselves. Like, I do believe that things should cross over too, but I do believe that, like, a lot of healing comes from, you know, sharing like experiences. So, yeah, other groups have their safe spaces too. But yeah, I think that was it was one of the biggest things that will make the largest impact, really.
And like, it's something that can be done like now, right?
Oh,
You're
it's-
not waiting for the government to implement something it's like, okay, that's something we can do, we can work on now at all different levels. I think that's so.
But you can put a peer system in basically anything. So I think it is just so essential to just have that relationality and be like, oh, I went through that, or this is what helped me. And so
Yeah, knowing you're not alone.
knowing you're not alone.
Yeah.
Listen, like every single time I did any sort of mental health project, every single person said, I feel so alone and I feel so isolated and no one understands me. So I just felt, yeah, so just being able to hear someone else say, oh, I've been through that, it's gonna be okay. It's just so healing. I am not at all saying the biomedical system doesn't have a place. It absolutely does. And a lot of people get a lot of relief out of going, oh, this is what I have. That makes so much sense. I can take this medication. I think that there's so
I
much.
don't think you're negating it
Yeah,
at all.
I think there's so much value
Yeah.
in that. But we're seeing time and time again that wait lists, we're not feeling like we connect with our doctors, that stuff, that's a part of it. And I think that there's this whole other system that really is where the healing happens.
Yeah, within your community, right?
Yeah. I've always been such a believer in community.
Yeah,
So.
you have, and I really appreciate just having these conversations, because I know people say, oh yeah, we're cool with mental health now, mental health matters, but getting into it, like, hey, here's the systems that aren't working, and here's how people are falling through the cracks. I think that is still so important to see both sides, and I just appreciate your voice, even if you're not, screaming into the abyss maybe anymore, or
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like for me, I kind of just want like a nice, quiet life now. I think I want to still like make a different, like make the world a slightly better place. But
You are.
oh, thanks to my dogs. But
No, and to people, and that's true. Like, I think we wait like for the moment. We're like, great, things are better now. But I know that I'm just one person, like, and I've been so massively impacted by you and your work and just your friendship too. You as a human, and knowing, yeah, that I wasn't alone in this, and really helping me even like when I started kind of my advocacy work. And
this might be my Sephora.
is it Sephora?
Oh my gosh! Hello. 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 This is my Sephora. Cut that section.
Okay.
This person just keeps calling.
Okay.
Hello? It's going to my
phones.
Hello? Hi. Oh yeah, if you just dial 7084, I can let you in. 7084. Yeah, I will open it when you dial 7084. Sorry everyone, I need my skincare routine.
I also don't want people having access to you, knowing your like buzzer code.
Oh, they can know my buzzer code,
That's okay.
but you're gonna leave that in there?
We also said like, well, we could take that part out. But I'm glad your Sephora made it safe and sound.
Oh man,
Like,
this last hip surgery has really aged me. So,
aging's a whole other thing we want to talk about. I'm having an existential crisis.
oh me too, I'm 44 now and I'm like, I feel like I've done nothing.
Okay, well, we literally just established that that's not true.
I
will
know, but
play this
still,
back
I
for you and
need
be like,
therapy.
look, I know what he's saying. This is good. Therapy is good.
Oh, therapy's great.
It's not. I used to think therapy was everything. I'm learning that it's not. It's just like one component. And I know we have to wrap this up because I can talk to you literally forever, and I will. I'm gonna have you on here again if you're willing to.
I would love to come back. Yeah, there's so much to talk about.
I know. That's the thing. I'm
Like, what happened in those lost 5 years where I just fell off the radar?
Find out next time.
On your other
On the next
podcast,
episode.
Cringy.
On the other more chaotic episode.
I feel like those 5 years are more suited for that podcast.
Okay, well, this is to hype you. You want to go to the other podcast called Cringy? You can see Blake there
Probably.
at some point.
Yeah.
But thank you again for getting your butt all the way down here
My
to
pleasure.
talk to me and hang out for me.
Oh, it was my honor. It's my honor. Oh, you're so welcome. I love that you call me Blake.
I think I've done that for years and I
Yeah.
don't know why. I hope it's okay.
I love it.
Okay,
I love
great.
It. Only you does that, and I love it. So, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Where do we go?
Cut!
That was
Is
good.
that okay?
That was awesome.
Aw, seriously, like, I appreciate the people left. See, you're facing this way. I did not know that any of the people evacuated.
Oh yeah, they all left.
Well, that's good.
What do you?
Thoughts,
It's good.
Daniel? Yeah?
Flowed. It flowed.
Comments, questions,
It was,
concerns?
no. In terms of content was really good. You guys were very open and authentic. It's nice.
Literally, like, there's a million fucking things we could talk about. Like that was just
And I
the
think you
tip.
picked the right things to talk about. It was just
Yeah.
naturally moved there. It was good.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It felt easy.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was forced or anything of that nature. It felt like, I honestly got it, just forgot that, I thought you guys forgot that you were on a podcast and you're just
I
talking.
feel like low key.
Yeah, like, at some point, I looked, I was like, at this point, they're just talking, and it's awesome!
Yeah, like,
That's the
what it should
point.
be, right?
That's the point,
vibe.
you know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
point, so it was good. Do you want me to stop this for you?